Welcome, friends, whether you're out on a walk, running errands, or relaxing at home. It's wonderful to connect with you. Joining us today is Dianne Andree. Dianne is an award winning international speaker and burnout prevention specialist with over 25 years of experience in mental health. Having stood on the brink of burnout herself, she brings powerful insight, authenticity, and practical strategies that help individuals and organizations reclaim energy, focus, and purpose. Diane, welcome to Phoenix and Flame.
Thank you so much for having me, Dana. I appreciate it.
This is fantastic. Now, you said your mission is simple to help people banish burnout and make the most of this one life starting now.
Mhm.
So, we have this in common. We both are in mental health field and we both have this passion for helping people with burnout. I would really like to know kind of why first of all, how you got started in mental health, because don't we all? We all have the story,
We
right?
all
We
have
all have the
stories.
story
Mhm.
of how we ended up here. That's really interesting to me is how you ended up in mental health, and then also what kind of prompted you to move into the area and the interest of helping people with burnout? So both are kind of like a dual layered question there.
Right. So thanks so much for the question. So I actually decided to head towards the mental health field in 10th grade. I didn't really know exactly what it was going to look like, but I had a meeting with and I call her a guidance counselor. So just so you know, I call that the G word, right? That's a bad word in my industry. We are now school counselors, but I had a guidance counselor. And I say that because she just literally sat in her office, waited for us to come. And I really didn't know what a counselor was supposed to do in the school. However, I knew that no kid should leave an office with an adult in a school building and feel the way that I felt.
Oh.
And so a sort of kind of organically started to happen that I became a counselor. And my goal was to avenge her. And I feel like I've done that. In fact, it was funny when she retired, they put it like the little local newsletter out. My mom sent me the clipping so I could, cheer and just throw it out. Um, and then, of course, last year I received a Lifetime Achievement Award. So I called my mom. Yeah. And I said, I think I finally avenged, because, girl, you did that long ago. But so that's how I got into the counseling field. And what a lot of people don't realize is that school counseling and mental health counseling, we take all of the same coursework. And then it's the split comes at DSM versus school. And I passed the national exam and all that, but then decided not to pursue private practice. And so I went into the schools and did my thing and became an administrator because I felt like sort of been a natural leader my whole life. And I felt like I could impact more people and more kids if I went into that role. And then burnout came because, well, first of all, as you said, I was on the brink of burnout myself because I went to a phenomenal, phenomenal training program. And I know of a lot of really good training programs. But the one thing, and I think you could probably say this from your schooling, they don't really talk to you about, they tell you, oh, take care of yourself. They don't really tell you what that looks like or how to do it. And so that was not something that I had as part of my daily life. And so when I became a leader, one of the things I always told the interns that were coming in, I said, okay, this couple things you need to know. One, you're on a year-long interview for a job. I said, secondly, you have got to learn how to take care of yourself now. You have to learn how to do that and make it part of your daily practice so that you don't burn out. And, we go through the whole, self-care is not selfish, right? You have to take care of yourself so that you're able to show up for other people. Um, you know, yeah, I always talk about how you can't pour from an empty bucket, right? And there's a cute little book out there, How to Fill Your Bucket, but it always sparked to me, yeah, like, I mean, as women especially, we do, something. We'll do a little manicure, pedicure. Oh, great, put a few drops in the bucket, and then, we dump it again. And so you can end up depleted. So I found myself there. As a matter of fact, I almost left the school counseling profession Would not have avenged my counselor had I done that. Actually, I shouldn't say that. And by that time, I'd already put 3 sexual perpetrators in jail, and I'm very that's probably the thing of all the awards and accolades, that's probably what I'm most proud of. But the reality is that, I really was, burned out, and I was gonna become this statistic, like, the first 5 or 6 years in education. And so, it was actually in my search to leave the field that I actually reignited myself. And then after the pandemic, I was seeing so many really, really good people leaving the field early
Mm.
or leaving right literally day they hit year 30, they were out. And that used to not be the case. And so that is really how I got into the burnout prevention specialty. Additionally, the last school system I worked in, I had a really amazing opportunity to partner with Emory University and their compassion center. And if you're not familiar with them, please everybody Google it. They do an incredible they just are launching a online platform where you can learn cognitively based compassion training. But we were also doing social emotional learning for kids. So working with them, I was able to get some certifications, was able to get a full expense paid trip to India to give an update to the Dalai Lama Foundation about the work we were doing. And that was a game changer. And while I was there, I was like, okay, it's time, just like when you went in administration to broaden, it's time for you to broaden again. And so that's why now I'm was able, luckily, to retire. And I'm a consultant and a keynote speaker and a trainer.
Oh, wow. Woo, man.
Mhm.
You sound like the exact person that I know personally that I'm trying to reach, the high performer. And, I'm wondering for you, you talked about being a leader.
Mhm.
And it's been my experience because I'm a natural leader as well, and I was wondering what your experience was that when you have leaders and people that have what I call they're like a light out in the world. They just and people are drawn to them like moth to flame.
Right.
But when you have that light, you have that passion, you have energy, you're a natural leader, that's wonderful,
Mhm.
and also that there's so many people and clients and projects and things that are drawn to you because of that light, because of that intelligence, because of that passion.
Yeah.
It sets people up for burnout because they're doing what they love and they wanna keep doing it, but there's only 24 hours in the day, there's only so much energy that we have.
Mm.
I'm kinda wondering if you wouldn't mind just kind of hovering over your experience of when you were out there doing your thing, being that light where you were in education, making things happen. What did burnout feel like to you? Because I think we talk about it, but I think some people are listening and
Right.
they're thinking, I might be burned out, but I'm not sure. And also, we as women, we're just used to you just keep effing going, right? You
Going
just keep
and
effing
doing.
going. And so you don't even think about, am I burned out? And even if we were, so what? I have to keep going. And I think we need to pause and kind of hover over this experience of high performers and burnout. And you personally, what was that like for you in that moment?
I appreciate that question because rarely have I been asked. So here's the thing about burnout is people need to be aware because it is different for everybody, but some telltale signs that I know is it's you sleep. Like I literally sometimes felt like I was so drained that I was asleep before I hit the pillow, but I never woke up rested. And I think and there were nights that I remember, like, saying, like, "Diane, clear your head, clear," because I would, like, sorta be asleep, but my brain was just going and a moving and a doing, and so, there was one point that the way that I handled it, I had particularly a lot of projects going on that I put a notebook next to my bed, so I could just jot down words to spark my so that because otherwise I'd be like, "You can't forget, you just stay you'll deal with it in the morning, you'll deal with it in the morning." But I would wake up and I could not wait to go back to sleep. I remember one time looking at my bed and thinking, "Oh, I can't wait to get back to you." Like, and I was like,
Yeah.
"That's not normal." I was in my, like, late 20s, early 30s. Like, what is happening? And so, and I just think for me, it was all of a sudden a lack of energy. And So again, because you don't wanna look like you're not doing the job, you put on the show, which drains you even more.
Mhm.
And the reality is, at the end of the day, I wasn't saying no. I wasn't prioritizing myself, I wasn't prioritizing my health. At one point, like, I realized that it was taking away from my family because there was so much going on that was drawing my attention. And, education, like many other fields, everyone's like, "Oh, how nice. So you guys go work 9 to 5. You have your summers off." No, none of that, right? One, because and for an educator, and in many other fields, not just ours, but everything you hear, you see, you read, you're like, "Oh, how can I use that? How can I have that as an example?" Or, "Oh, I don't want to use that one as an example. Oh, that's coming up on the news. I got to make sure that if that comes up in conversation, I divert it, right? And I bring them back to, around to things." And so, um, like, I realized that I was a little too much of the job, and I had kinda lost who I was in the process, and I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't doing my crafting anymore. I didn't have the energy or the interest in those kinds of things. About the only thing that I kept up consistently was music, listening to music, because music is one of the things that's, like, my go-to. In fact, just getting ready for this, I put on my hype music, right, to get ready for
I love it, love
you know?
it.
So I think, that was one of the things. And then I learned a practice of writing down some things so I could literally take it off of my mind, writing some things down that okay, this day is done, but these are things I can look at tomorrow and see where they fit in the priority list. I also, for me, made sure that I didn't work too close to home because I needed the drive time to decompress. And,
Nice.
what I was finding when I was really, like, starting to get burned out, it was the sleep, it was the lack of energy, it was the loss of interest in other things, and really, not going in with the same verve that I wanted to. I had someone to avenge, Dana, right? I had work to do. So I had to have that energy that I wanted. So it was like, how am I going to take care of myself? How am I gonna do that? And realizing that and by part of taking care of myself was learning to say no. And I will say that took me a little longer than some of the other things. I put in daily practices of walking and drinking water, because I mean, that's part of the health thing. And, we think, "Oh, it's just water." No, the body needs water to function, people. I can go on a whole rabbit hole if you'd like with that, because when I left, well, no, I didn't leave education. When I was preparing to leave education, I actually went to massage therapy school, and so did a lot. I know. Everyone's like, "Oh, my neck hurts, my shoulder." Yeah, that's what usually happens, but, the reality is, like, I learned a lot about the importance of water, like, just for your organs to run, your muscles, your tendons, and really, most importantly, your brain and what happens if you don't take it. So I won't go down that rabbit hole unless you want to, but, I wasn't even drinking water for myself. Like, I mean, so it's like, okay, here are the things, the simple things I can do. I can, drink water. I can make sure that, again, I have that drive time to decompress. I could write those lists so I can take it off my mind, and, it actually helped me sleep better too, so
I love that, and I love that you're talking about learning how to say no, which is hard, and of course, I'm known as the queen of boundaries, and that I talk about that. I'm passionate, passionate. I've got a story of my own behind that, but I think what some people don't understand is that when we're
Mhm.
saying no so that we can say yes to what really matters.
Yes.
We want to say yes to things, but we are not able to say yes to the things that really matter to us if we're saying yes to every damn thing.
Well, and you said earlier, right? There's 7 days a week. We all get the same 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and you have to decide who and how you spend your energy, with whom and how you spend your energy.
Yes.
And you also, I think one of the things that came as, and this, a part of this is maturity, right? Like, there's things people always say, "Oh, wouldn't you like to be 20 again?" I'm like, only if I could have the
No.
knowledge and experience I have now, right? And of course, when they
Yes.
say high school, I'm like, there's not enough money in the world to send me back there, right? But the reality is
Oh.
that, with some maturity comes a little bit of discernment, and you start to, tune into who is an energy drain and who is an energy filler, like, that you get excited to be around them, and you not when you see their number come up, you're like, "Okay, I can do this," right? Like, not that you're gonna cut them out, but you also can choose to limit the amount of time.
Yes.
That you
100%.
invest in that and that you talk to them, and so, I think that is what has made such a big difference is just deciding with whom and how and where I wanna put my energy, so that I don't mind giving, but the truth is you gotta get. You gotta get and that's where the no comes in. If this is not going to fill me, if it's not gonna energize me and make me feel better and be a better person and live a better life,
Mhm.
it might not be for me. So, lately, I have really found myself even again, like, and not just because it's the new year, I think it's because there was a little bit of downtime, but I stopped and said, "Okay, what are all the things I'm doing, and what do I need to let go?" And I've let go about 3 or 4 that just weren't helping me and my business and helping me to help others, so
I love that. I love that reprioritizing and kind of looking at it from a different point of view. And kind of like what we were saying earlier is that when we have a lot to give, and especially for us in the mental health field,
yes.
most of the time we're really good listeners.
Yes.
And that is like gold to people. I mean, that's just like gold. And so we have to be able to put that boundary down because other people are not going to do that. And
Yeah,
so it's just making sure that we can keep going, and I love the examples that you're giving about prioritizing and giving people time, but limited time, that other people do not get to decide how much of your time they're going to take. You get to decide how much of your time you're going to give.
exactly. Yeah.
It's amazing how many people are stunned by that. It's like this epiphany that they have. It's kinda like, "No, your time is yours, not someone else's to decide."
Right, it's like that meme you've probably seen, like, the givers have to watch their boundaries because the takers have none, so, you have to only that's it is one of the things there's a lot of things in our life we can't control, but that I can. I can decide where I put my energy. That is something I have complete control over.
Mhm. You know, I'm wondering with the clients that you've interacted with and the people, the colleagues and the other people that you've seen, because like you're an international speaker and all these wonderful things. What in your wisdom and your maturity, what have you discovered or what do you think is maybe the one or the top three um obstructions that people have to being able to keep gas in their tank? What do you see as like the top or the top 3 things that cause people to get burned out the most, that you hear about the most?
Yeah, so, having been on these international panels and spoken with these groups and, when I was in India, I think there was, like, 10 or 12 different countries represented, and none of them had the US hurry culture,
Mm.
right? None of them had this, I have to, I should be," and, I remember, in, m my first marriage, I remember one day we had driven up to visit his family, and they are the most lovely people, but I slept till we got in really late, and I think I slept till 7:30 or 8. They're like, "Well, look who's sleeping the day away." Like
Okay.
right, and so that kind of, like, flipped a switch for me, and I was like, "Mm, I need to do more. I'm not using my time well." And so you find, like, and I don't think that's just that. I think people look at social media and say, "Oh, look what all they're doing. I need to be doing that." Like, our world has gotten faster.
Mhm.
And so it makes it more challenging to put on the brakes. And it's not that you can't, right? But we have to. We have got to choose the brakes. In fact, on my website, I give out this thing called a simple morning routine, and it gives the backing behind the don't get on your phone for 15 to 20 minutes. And the reason is that you literally change your brain's waves. You flip it. And so now you're in this mode from just coming up and waking. right? Like your brain needs time. We are designed to take a hot minute just to kind of get up and get going. And so that's my simple morning routine talks just about a few things like that. So I think that's the number one is we are in this horrendous hurry culture.
Mm.
um, when I was a kid, we called it keeping up with the Joneses, and that's still there, and it's part of the hurry culture, but also this need for stuff, and so, "Oh, I have to be busier because then I'm working harder." Instead, we have to be, like, more efficient, and we have to use our energy well, and again, if we are taking the time to take care of ourselves and fill ourselves and be around people that energize us, even when we're in those, like, tough energy places, that task that I don't wanna do, but I have to do for my job, like, what I would always do is I would sandwich those between, I love to do this, I hate to do this, but then I get to do this, right? So, like, you try to do it because you have to get it done, but you have to not get bogged down in just working to get more stuff that's just gonna collect dust and, doesn't really mean we're getting away from human connection, and I think that's another big contributor to burnout, is people aren't taking time to connect
Mm.
on a real level, on a personal level, and my family, is fascinated by and somewhat annoyed. They're like, because 'cause I'll go to the checkout line, and I'm sure this happens to you, where all of a sudden I come out and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that poor man, his wife is in the hospital and this and that," and then they were like, "You were in line for 2 minutes." I'm like, "People just tell me stuff," right? Because 'Cause we're the good listener, but, but it's that human connection that we need, and again, that goes back to what I said earlier about who are you gonna spend your energy with? Who are you gonna invest your time in so that you, can keep your energy levels up? So, again, it's being selective, and it's not overcommitting, it is not being busy all the time, and it's making sure you make time for human connection. And, I'm gonna throw in a 4th one, and that's people need to get outside more.
Mm.
You
That's a
need to
good
get
one.
outside, be in nature, feel the sun, breathe fresh air. I'm not a tree hugger, but I'm not against it, right? Like, yeah, I mean, but I just think being out in nature is calming and it's literally grounding, and when we take time that's part of my morning routine is about getting grounded before you start your day. This but that's it's so important, and, one of the things I train on and I speak on is about quick little, like, 30-second resets, how to reset yourself when things start to feel like they're spiraling, and if you are being attentive, even a little bit, you will know when you're out of sync. And you could just take 30 seconds and reground yourself.
I love this.
You
I
change the
got put
whole
some
trajectory.
research on the grounding, the literal ground. Where
Literal
bare
ground. Barefoot.
barefoot, flesh onto the soil, the sand, the grass,
Ooh, the sand, yes.
palms of your hand on trees. I mean, it's the research is quite compelling.
It is, and, I grew up near the beach, so the beach is my thing, and
Mm.
so when I was a school counselor, an elementary counselor, I loved play therapy. But this was before we had kinetic sand, and I kinda got in trouble with the janitor about the sand all over my carpet, and so I I did, change. I used beans, and then I tried rice, neither of which was quite the same, but hey, and, you do what you do to make it work. But I took that sand, and I put it in a shoebox, and I put it under my desk.
Nice.
And I remember I had this one parent call and they were difficult. And of course, they weren't really being difficult. They were trying to advocate for their child. They felt like they were hitting up against the wall, but I was the person between them and the wall and they were really trying to plow through, and so I just popped the lid while I'm talking, slipped my foot out of my shoe and put it in the sand. Right? This is why those little Zen gardens get sold, right? Like, just the raking I mean, for some of us, like, the beach is my heartbeat, and so, that for me, when you said sand, I'm like, "Oh," because I have gotten to a point that I can actually, in 30 seconds, smell the salt water, hear waves, and feel my feet sinking into the sand where it's hot on top and it's cool underneath.
Mm. I know exactly that feeling that you're describing.
Yeah, but I can
Um,
go to it in my mind. It took time, it took practice. That was part of my CBCT learning is a creating nurturing moments for yourself. But, yeah, I mean, that's it.
mm. So I want to rewind for just a minute and get back to a comment that you made about social media and basically the comparison that we're doing. Because I know personally, I've experienced something recently, maybe you have as well, because when you have high performers, we level up. And
Mhm.
when we're leveling up, lots of times we are exposing ourselves to groups of people who are doing better than we are, right? They're farther down the path than we are because you need to if you want to get better, then you need to get with people who are doing what you eventually want to do so that you can learn from them. And
Mhm.
but what happens is sometimes the comparison thing with high performers, it gets to be very difficult and can cause burnout because, like, for example, well, have you written a book? Are you a TEDx speaker? Have you been on this stage? Have you been on that stage? Do you know so and so? It just goes on and on and on. And so it's really knowing how to manage those feelings of wanting to get better, but at the same time, mitigating and kind of managing that comparison
Yeah.
that we're all on different journeys, and so I'm kinda curious as to your experience and your feedback about that leveling up, that comparison, but also trying to recognize everybody's on a different phase of their journey, so let people be and on their own journey.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get you're always in oh my gosh," like you said. I think it's the modern day, keeping up with the Joneses, especially if you're a high
Yes.
performer and you're leveling up.
Yes.
Then it's like, okay, I've gotta be a TEDx speaker. I've gotta be an author. I've gotta do this and that and the other, and I'm not good enough. I'm not okay. And it kind of all boils down to that. There's a book that somebody recommended to me a while back. It says How to Be Good Enough. How to
Mm.
Be Good Enough. And I think with high performers, that's another level because most of us, our self-esteem is we got that on lock, right? We're good with that, right? But the good enough can come in the dark underbelly of when you're comparing yourself to other people through social media or through other groups, thinking, well, but I'm not good enough until this, until I accomplish that, until I have that, until I do that. I'm not good enough until. And then we're like, excuse the language, but just fuck it, right? Just I'm
Right?
tired. I'm
Yep.
I'm I'm gonna give up. And that's when burnout threatens to come in. I was just kind of wondering your experience or people that you've been around that have gone through something like that.
Well, I think everybody has, right? Whether it's on social media, in real life or whatever. Um, what I think makes social media even harder is that so many people, the things that they're posting, they're full of shit, right? This is not, they're sorry, can I say it? Yeah, but they all
Yes.
right? Like, because the reality is, like, you can put anything you want. Your family can look perfect, right? Like, I always think of that line from Steel Magnolias, "Look, they look like they're carved out of cream cheese," right? And, like, people are just sitting and smiling so perfectly, and, that's not real life. I mean, nobody looks except in the daytime, stories, right? Like, they're the only ones that are dressed to the nines to go to the grocery store. Like, there are plenty of times we all just look, we look terrible, we feel lousy, like, we're all gonna have a moment. Um, I think I guess part of it is, one of the things I've always talked about, even before I came to my I don't give a shit, mid-50s, is, stop shooting on yourself.
Yeah.
We shoulda, coulda, woulda. Stop shoulding on yourself.
I love that. Mm.
Because as you said, and I'm glad that you said what everybody says is, "I'm behind," right? That's how pe but the reality is, and then you gave the right framing of, we're just where we are, right? We're just on a journey. And, yes, you need to look at people who are further down that path. Um, but I'll also say I know plenty of people that are further down that path that have no gratitude for where they are and what they have now. Because
Interesting.
and so, like, there's actually a friend of mine just invited me to, it's a gratitude app, and you create a bubble with some people, the people that, like, feed your energy. And every day we post and we comment, and we get a little prompt to do it, which is great, because the reality is it could all be gone tomorrow for
Yeah.
a million different reasons. So if I keep looking down the path, down the path, down the path is never going to end. If I can sit in now, and that's what I talk about, like, My whole talk is around the power of pause, harnessing the power of pause, not just to reset, but to sit in gratitude. What do I have now? Right? And so in this past year, there's my family has just had to navigate some health challenges, kids, adults, everybody. And the reality is, they and one of them was getting fussy about it. I said, hold on, let's be thankful that we have access to healthcare where we can actually address these things because that's not a privilege that everybody gets.
Yeah.
So it's about how you frame things and the mindset, but you've gotta stay in the now. This is all we got. And I always, you've heard it before. The windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason, because I don't wanna be looking back that much. And I can't steer forward looking back. I have to be looking out, and I need to have the widest view that I can in order to, make the right decisions and the right choices and things. So, it's about getting present. And yes, I believe in having goals. Yes, there are things you want to do. And there are things I don't want to do. I'm hit up all the time off of my links. I loved your post. Have you ever thought about writing a book? Yeah, I've thought about it, but I'm not writing the serious book. If I write a book, it's going to be a fiction book, right?
Right.
Yeah, have
Fun to
some
read.
have elements, but it's gonna be a fictional book. If I ever wrote a serious book, it's gonna be for kids. It's not gonna be for adults. There's plenty of things out there for them and they're not taking advantage of them as it is. So, I think that, you have to decide, I'm gonna be here. This is all I got.
Wow. So I'm going to make a brief comment about that, and then we're going to try to get people, geared to where they can reach you because we're about out of time. Is I think about there happens to be a scripture in the Bible that talks about how life is a vapor,
Mm.
that our life is a vapor, and I think about that occasionally. It's like, okay, it's a vapor, and we both have reached a stage in life where we get that.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, "Oh my gosh." It's just not worth it. It's just like, "Okay, how do I wanna spend the rest of my vapor?" And life does feel like a vapor. It goes so fast, and so that it does kinda give us some power to decide, "Okay, I'm not gonna get jacked up about this. It's not worth it. I'm not gonna go after this or that or this or that, even though so and so and so and so is doing it because I don't give a rat's ass," right? And so it's just how do you want to spend the rest of your vapor, your time, and just stay in the moment and enjoy that and have that gratitude. So for the listeners and the viewers that are tuning in, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to find out more about Diane. I want to know more about what she has to say. Where do you want them to go?
So if they wanna follow me on socials, that's Di Andre, Diandree7. That's Instagram. On LinkedIn, it's Diana Cunha Andre. My website is dianeandre.com. And it's in the process of being updated right now, but in the resource section is that free simple morning routine. And it talks about the science behind the things that I suggest. And also I have on there videos that are called the 30-second reset. And their videos I've taken, things that have struck me. If anybody would like to drop me a line and say, "Hey, could you add this?" or "I have this, I'll share," or whatever, I'm happy to, put it up there too. But it's just 30 seconds. It might be, there was one of the ocean. There's one where, in our park where I do my walking. One was just the morning light coming over the meadow. Another was the day after rain and the water was rushing a little bit more. So it's like this tiny waterfall. So, um, the thing I would like to just say is do one nice thing for yourself today. Have your people ask your listeners to do one nice thing for themselves today. And if that's just stopping, pausing, and having a really good glass of water, and by saying, I mean, like, because I could grab my little drink here and go, oh, that's great, or I can be intentional about what I do, and I can reach. I'm reaching. I'm lifting. Ooh, the cup is cool. It's dripping with a little bit of sweat. How does the straw feel? When I put in my mouth, what does it taste like? Can I follow it all the way down? Just create moments for yourself throughout
And
the day, tiny moments, and that's gonna help us all with our well-being.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Call
And
me for
also
more tips.
noticing the cheerful red color of your drink, I was
Yeah.
noticing that. All right, Diane, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate your energy and your knowledge and your willingness to come on and spend your time with us on Phoenix and Flame. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Have a great week.
All right, listeners and viewers, I know you've heard multiple things today. I want you to take this podcast episode and copy and paste the link, send it through text, send it an email, put it on your favorite social media sites so we can grow our Phoenix and Flame community and let people know you are not alone. I hope your day is great. I hope the rest of your day is fantastic. I'm Dana on Phoenix and Flame.